Hey, welcome to the My Voice and Power radio show and podcast. Join myself and regulars every week and hear what we have to say on a variety of topics. We also welcome you to have your say in the comment section or by joining us here in the studio, which you can do by dropping an email to myvoiceandpower@outlook.com. Also, don't forget to tune in to the My Voice and Power show live every Thursday at 9 p.m. on www.unityliveradio.co.uk or download the app from the App Store.
Someone else messaged me and said, what did they say? We shouldn't be really focused on what the police are doing. We should be focused on more black on black crime and what's happening there. And I went, look, that is where I went. How do I choose to respond? No, I'm not going to choose to respond to it. I'm going to respond to this how I want to respond to it, like instinct. I was like, that's just rubbish, absolute rubbish. You're not getting it. You don't understand it. No. I think it needs to be all about the stopping black on black crime. I was like, look, it goes deeper. Do you think that just people just go out down the road and go, do you know what? I'm black, you're black, so I'm gonna rob you.
Let's fight.
It doesn't work like that. You need to stop it. Then everything will stop.
Street Fighter, the Black Edition.
Yeah, everything will be perfect in the world. Then, oh really? All right. So the equality,
was
privilege.
The person black?
No, but
yeah.
Not white either. So,
okay.
But to give an impact, then, and I say this quite regularly, maybe 20 years ago, I was very, what's the word I'm looking for? I would be very rash or brash in what I do. So when I make a decision, done. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So, do you know what? I'm having a fibro flare-up. One of the conditions in fibromyalgia is costochondritis, and it's inflammation in your chest.
Okay.
So I'm getting chest pain because of that.
Can you breathe it out?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm not breathing.
Just take it. Yeah. Give you rest.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Keep breathing. It's all good.
Sorry, it's just scary. I'm just scary because it's been on and off for a while, and worst case scenario, if it moves across, I have to always call 999 because it's the same symptoms as a heart attack.
Right. Okay.
So I wouldn't know the difference.
Right. Okay.
So at the moment it's here. So it's like, yeah.
Don't worry. We got two phones here. It's fine. And you got your Apple Watch. It'll tell. It should do. That's what they tell us.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, keep breathing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to make brash decisions and stuff. But from that point, I received that message. I was like, I'm not talking to you again. Well, I'm not going to reach out to you. If you reach out to me, fine. But I'm not going to.
So have you spoken? Sorry, dizzy spell. Have you spoken to that person since?
Let's say, what's it now? Was it 4 years? 5 years? 4 years since the pandemic. So 5 years. So maybe once in that 5 years.
Okay.
But I'm not missing anything from my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what did you respond to them? So did you answer that? I literally just said that's not you're missing the point. That's not the point of this. Yes, it is. And I was like, okay, you think what you want to think. We agree to disagree, but I'm done with that conversation. I literally said I'm done with that conversation. Yeah, but that's the narrative that we're fed, though. That's one thing that really stuck with me from Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's one thing that stuck with me from there, like the way the dad took all of the kids to the projects and this billboard is up here for this, and this is why this shop is here on this corner. So there is an element of truth to what that person messaged you. However, I understand that was not the focus at the time.
And there is, and you know what, if the rhetoric was we need to stop black on black crime, then you go, okay, what's causing it, or what's the trigger, or what's happening with that? Why is it that black people feel they need to? Well, I mean, they don't even target other black people. Let's be real with it. They just target people.
Yeah.
It's the same way that you don't call it white on white crime, do you? It's just crime.
Crime. Yeah.
So it's or you don't say it's Hispanic on Hispanic or Indian on Indian or Asian on Asian. You just don't do that. You don't call, all of a sudden it's black on black. All right. Okay. It's crime. Let's pull it down. But why? Is it a resources thing? Is it a money thing? Is it an opportunity thing? Is it because do we have as equal? Is it equality? Do we have the equal chance to do jobs? Do we have the equal chance to get these paid jobs? Do we have the equal chance to do this, that, and the other? Do we have the same privilege as other people walking into shops, etc.? So all these things, you know, there's the term microaggressions and all that stuff, but all these micro things add up to a point where something. Imagine you've got a bottle and you're filling those things up with those micro bits. Eventually, you cap that bottle, you keep trying, and it will get so full to the point it goes, I need to burst. And then that's where we get to the, and you would see, as you said, from Boys in the Hood, there's strategically placed stuff. There's rhetoric behind it. And you go, well, okay, we're being forced down that path, so the rhetoric is black on black crime. Well, no, it's crime. But because you've taken this away, you've taken this away, and because we haven't got that opportunity, we haven't got that activity or that access to that, then you're basically putting the two together to happen. So that's why, I was like, what you're saying is well, not rubbish, but what you're saying is not the point. It's not the point at this point in time. But then no one else has said that. So once again, back to friends group, my friends group wouldn't even dream of saying that because they understand, they have an understanding of what was happening at the time. And a few of my friends are kind of counsellors as well. So they know certain things in certain ways can trigger certain things in certain ways. So they know, you know what, that's not the way. Or we'll approach it from a slightly different way of saying it, shall we? Yeah, cool. And then there's other people that just, don't get me wrong, in my group of mates, there are people who are just like, I'm this way and that's how I'm going to be forever. All right, okay, then I accept that. That's how you're going to be. I just know not to say certain things to you or to say certain things to you in a different way. Yeah. It's not, you know, but then they're very stubborn in how they want to be, but then you can still get them thinking about what they're saying and how they're doing it. So I think that's, once again, I think it's a longevity thing. As you said, secondary school, it's a long time. I mean, for me, it's a long time now. It's 20 years, 25 years. For other people, if you went out and asked like 23-year-olds now, are you still in touch with your secondary school? It'd be interesting to understand what the response would be. Or did you go to uni or college? Are you more in touch with your college mates or uni mates? Or what do you class as friends now?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of different things around that, isn't there? Because like my oldest son has said to my youngest son before,
Breathe.
That a lot of the people that he's at school with, well, not now, but this was like maybe like a year or so ago. A lot of the people you're at school with now, you won't be friends with like later on down the line. And is that because of the way we change, the way we grow, our expectations, our level of expectations, because people don't know how to communicate, because people don't know how to keep friendships going? Like there's so many different things into that. And then there's someone else I know. She is the only person in her friendship group that didn't go to uni. They all went to uni. She started up her own business. They were all telling her that she was stupid. Why are you doing this? You're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. And now they're all working in like supermarkets or other places. And now she's running a business. And whilst I'm not knocking any of the other jobs, like obviously it's their stance, the way that they chose to look on it. They felt like they had to go uni to get where they needed to be. And now, not that she's better off, because I don't know their circumstances in comparison to hers or whatever, but like worked for her.
I think it's interesting because when you say secondary school, it's the same for primary school, I guess, and college and uni.
Yeah.
We are dropped into a room with people. It's the same for work as well. We're dropped into a room with people that you're going to spend the majority of your day with every day, Monday to Friday. Saturday, Sunday, slightly different. But because you're in that situation, you're more likely to make bonds with people and have friends at school. It's as simple as that. You gravitate to people you know and you like, etc. But then when we leave school, we're not in that presence of that person every day from 9 till 3 or 3:30 in some cases, or 2:15 for us.
Yeah. We made an earlier.
Yeah. So then things change because then you're not constantly around that person. Now, I think what's different with our group of lads is that we maintain that. So not that we're in each other's pockets from 9 till 3 every day, but every weekend we'd go out together, or we'd make sure we meet up, or we'd have like games nights, or we'd have like, and it's a rare thing and a weird thing, but like, you get box games like, Snakes and Ladders, all that stuff.
Yeah,
we used to do nights of those things rather than computer games. So we used to do like all these different things we used to do together, and then say going out for dinner, whatever, going on holiday, which kept the unit together, which kept the unit going for that length of time. Now that's not always. And a good example of that is there's a class of 30 kids for each side of the year, so there's 60 kids altogether. We'll say let's make it to 90 for a year. It's not a group of 90 mates. It's a group of 20 mates that are still really close because we kept that bond going for a while. And I think naturally you then just fall into, what are you up to? Yeah, okay. And then that's what keeps things going. I think once you're taken out of the environment of school and you go and do your own devices, you go and do what you want to do, you go and spend time with who you want to spend time with. I think nowadays it's less so that people will meet up in big groups. I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it, but people are much more comfortable with staying at home and just staying home and not really socializing as much. You mentioned about do we know how to communicate? Do we know what we're doing now? I think
not even now. I just think there's
a generation that's going to really struggle with it, whereas we've had the opportunity to be more sociable.
See, and I disagree there. I feel like, again, depending on what your circumstances are, like at the time. I mean, like for me, like my kids were at home more. I did, we didn't have to do the school run. So as a parent, I got to spend more time with them, got to know them for who they are at that stage in their lives, rather than trying to catch snippets of them in between them going to school, coming home, going back out, and all of that. And again, so like throughout my own healing and stuff like that, learning to become a calmer person inside and out, becoming more mindful, and all of that stuff has been able to be passed on. No one had time for that anymore. And I feel like the reason why so many people were able to come together over the whole George Floyd situation is because the time was there for people to do it. And I feel like the society they always find ways to damage society, let's be real. However, like back then, even still right up until now, society is high functioning.
It's interesting.
So people who have mental health, so like I have complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah. People might not think I have it to look at me, the way I present myself, the way I carry myself, the way I have certain conversations. I've learned, sadly, no matter how hard it's been, or rightly or wrongly, I've learned to manage my triggers and everything else. But part of me managing that is isolation. And people, those who struggled with isolation were people who do not usually isolate because they're up at the crack of dawn, getting ready for work, commuting, going to work, spending all this time at work. Whilst everything that they've been through has been suppressed, but is maybe coming out in different ways by somebody reacting to how they feel rather than responding in a better manner, or becoming addicted to whatever they're addicted to, whether it's work or family life, or and not really putting down anything to have that time for themselves. And really a lot of people do that so that they don't have to feel anything that they don't want to feel.
I'm starting to interview you now. Do you think, so when I think about what you said there, and you isolation is the way that you handle it, and you've learnt to handle it, but do you think that that's a result of society changing as well? Now, by that, what I mean is my mum's generation is slightly different, say, 50s, 60s, let's say 60s, 70s, because she was still a teenager in the 50s. If the community, let's take Reading, where we are, the community of West Indies in Reading was tight. So if there were functions, if there were things happening, then people would tell each other and people would come together, and then there'd be big parties. Or a good example, I mean, it's a frivolous example, but a good example I would say is Reading Carnival. Reading Carnival 30 years ago is completely different to what it is now. Before, there'd be like, you would choose your band that you jump up with, and there'd be a big procession of Reading Carnival. And that's because the community, the West Indian community, was pulling together and saying, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then all come together. And then now there is a stigma of certain, West Indians don't speak their emotions in certain points, etc. But there was more opportunity to do that because the community was closer, and so you had more people to go and talk to. Whereas now, the community's still there, but it's much smaller than it was. And I don't know, if someone in your situation now is coming up now and then goes, I need to talk to somebody. Yes, we now got the highlights of go and speak to a therapist and mental health, etc. But is there a community? Is there a social group that people feel they could go to and go, do you know what, I need to talk to somebody in a community aspect rather than
there's several things there to break down. Yeah. And yes, there was a community then. I would argue it was a surface level community. And for as long as you could keep up that surface level communication, everything was fine. Nobody chatted their business, what went on in your house, stayed inside your house. And if it didn't stay inside your house, boy, was you going to feel that it didn't stay inside your house. So there was not real connection. It was all right when everybody wanted to sit down and have a party and jump up together, blah, 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 blah. Great. But there were lots of people being traumatized within their homes, within the community. It takes a village to raise a child, but half the village was abusing people. So there's a lot of that that was never taken into consideration at that time. And now the more people that rise through and start to open their mouths and speak outside of that is where now we're seeing all of this. And then you can see how fractured the community really is. And then you go from there. And this whole prejudice of we need to find other people that we can identify with. Well, half of us can't identify with certain people because of things that have gone on for us. And it's not about a judgment. I would, if someone said to me, oh, look, there's a black therapist down the road. If you needed some more therapy, why don't you go and check them out? I would have a preconceived idea because my situations and circumstances with black females has not been great, but I would give that person a chance so that I'm not judging that person based on all of my own previous experiences. But also the therapy I've had has all been with white people. And I feel like the reason that I've got to where I am today is because the last therapist I had was a cracking therapist. She was great. It wasn't about her skin color or anything like that. She even said herself, well, you're not a typical textbook case. Why do you think that is? So we had that conversation. It worked because she didn't come to therapize me with any preconceived ideas, which another black person might. Well, come on, we're both black. Why do you feel like this? You know our way, you know our culture. So why is this even a problem for you? So
in answer, no. Then
I can't even remember the question now.
The question is in so what I was saying is, do you feel that back then there was a community that you could, rather than being in isolation?
And the isolation isn't about cutting myself off per se.
No, and that's how you've learned how to deal with it.
And it's also like it's an energy thing. If I'm around a lot of people for a lot of time, it can be a great evening, but I've noticed I get energetically tired, and it's my natural ability to people read. I can't even say I choose to people read. Sometimes I have to choose to actively switch off, and sometimes I'm trying so hard to switch off that I haven't actually switched off, but I don't realize that until I've got home, and then I will start processing all this stuff that I wasn't necessarily aware of that I was picking up in the moment. And that's based off my trauma, where I've had to learn to people read from such a young age in order to be able to keep myself safe or prepare myself to be in a dangerous situation.
Interesting.
But we had such a great community that nobody saw what was going on. If they did, they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
And nobody stepped in to save me.
I think it's probably exactly what you said, isn't people were aware, but then they're like, you know what? My business is my business. That's and again, not that I want to boil it down to a race thing, but I always, from my experiences of how I've grown up and what I've experienced and what I've seen, I don't know if that's any different in any other. I don't know how different that is in other households, for example. So I know from my upbringing, etc., that this is the scenario and this is how it should be. And over time, I've learned, okay, that's slightly skewed, or I've mellowed that bit out, I've leveled that bit out. But that's a black household. What's it like from a white household? What's it like from an Indian household, or Asian, should I say, household? There's obviously the same stuff has happened in different households. You know, how has that been handled? How have they reacted? I wouldn't be aware until someone comes out and says that scenario. But I'm learning stuff from you in a sense of, because you're sharing what you went through, whereas I don't know from others, should we say.
Yeah, and I think I just got to a point where I've just started to share, because it doesn't matter whether I share or don't. Someone's always got something to say anyway. So, so
that's a standard thing, yeah.
And I think I stayed quiet for so long that I don't know. I think to be fair, it got to a point where, I think I stayed quiet for so long, I became suffocated. And once I became suffocated, I was aware of people as much as I was aware of myself, but not at the same time. So certain things, like I used to walk past this couple's house on the way to school in one area that I lived in the morning, and they said to my mum one time, oh, she doesn't walk past our gate anymore when we're outside. That was me, and I knew that I didn't walk past their house like that anymore, but also was not aware, at the same time. It's like
So I know, because the theme of today was friends, and I'm wondering, do you feel it might have been slightly different if you had I mean, not that I'm saying my group of mates are the best things in the world, but if you had a similar group of friends at the time, maybe you did or maybe you didn't, do you feel that it may have been slightly different? You would have been able to voice that to your mates, or
So this is how I ended up speaking out was I had a group of friends, and maybe I struggled to identify with them like that because for me, I probably wasn't having a typical friendship because I had all of that stuff like cluttering up inside of me. But they knew that something was wrong. I wasn't myself. There was all this stuff going on, and like in the end, I did end up saying something. But then the problem then came when I eventually opened up, and still nothing happened.
Right.
Like adults got involved, services got involved, police got involved, like all of the people who are supposed to be involved in these things got involved for nothing to happen.
Yeah.
One person stopped doing what they were doing for then somebody else to then go ahead and do the same thing. So, and then again, that had to get to a place of where that built up so much that I can't even remember how that came out. Yeah, I actually don't even remember how that came out. But then that one was worse because I was never believed by the people that it was important for me to be believed by. And then someone else spoke out about the same thing from the same person, and then they ran away. So they were on the run. Yeah. And the last person who helped me, again, so something did change then. I was removed from the household. I went to live somewhere else where that person went on to try to do the same thing whilst taking me to counselling for what had already happened by the other people.
Yeah.
And again, it got to a point of suffocation. And it was really weird because the girl, like, we had our on and offs. We were never really like friends as such, but we'd walk to school together in the morning. But sometimes she used to bully me. But but she's the one out of all the people who I ended up telling at the time, she's the one who saved me from that. She's the one who took it to the school, took it to the head teacher, and was like, well, I'm not standing for this. So sometimes it's not even about who is your friend and who isn't. It's about who's going to do right because the right thing needs doing.
Yeah, and I guess you must have got, I mean, comfortable is really the wrong word, but you must have got to a place where you felt you could tell that person.
No, she bullied it out of me.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Well, not that we ever advocate bullying, but that was a good thing to happen for you at the time. Yeah. So, but then that person, have you ever kept in touch with them? Do you?
I always stop and speak to them and say hello if I see them. But yeah, we're not like
friends.
Yeah.
Acquaintances.
Yeah, but regardless of what she has done to me of her own accord for whatever reason, and regardless of whether we ever speak again or not, that I will always be thankful to her for.
Interesting. So I mean, because it highlights, I suppose it highlights my group of friends from secondary school as it's quite a tight knit group, and I'm quite thankful that I'm part of that group. I mean, I may think I am. I might be on the outside. I don't know.
That Nathan.
But I think that's where I think that's why I still think that is unique. I don't think you find that very often.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. In that, the other thing I was thinking about when you mentioned about the mindfulness and stuff, I was like, oh, our group's quite good because we're all quite successful. Blah, blah, blah. Then I started thinking, but then what about maybe it was an era, a time of that, at that time, the era we all hang around and we all went out with each other. But then, what about the year below us, or what about the year above us? Is that the same? Was it the same thing, or were we just that unique at that time? Because we wouldn't have just assumed to do that. We would have probably seen other people doing that, surely, or the year below us would have seen us always hanging around and going out. And so, I mean, then they, as a community or as a friend group, would stick together. And I can't answer that. It'd be interesting to find out if there are other groups of mates that have stuck together since secondary school.
And is your group of friends all just you, like, or is like, because I remember we used to sometimes chill with the people the year above us.
Oh yeah, we used to. I mean, we were once again that false state of putting you in a place you're dropped in a school and those are your mates now for the next 6-7 years.
Yeah.
So when we went to sixth form to do our, and this is another thing, all of us went to sixth form as well. So when we went to sixth form, the sixth form that made an early is you had year 12 and year 13 in the same place. So you had to mingle with the older or the year above. The advantage I had is that my cousin was a year above as well. So she would introduce me to people, or I'd see who she's talking to and then occasionally talk to them or whatever. But we did have to socialise with them, yeah. But then once again, once you go to your class, you're in that room with that particular group of people for that length of time. And you come out, there's a social element for like 15 minutes or maybe an hour. And then you go off again, you separate and go off again. So, but then I didn't see the unity or the camaraderie in the year above compared to what we had.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's unusual. I presume there are loads of groups out there like that, but I just don't. Like if I talk to my uni mates now and I say, do you still speak to anybody from secondary school? Not really. No. Okay. I'm trying to think of other groups. There'll be other groups, but their groups will be much smaller, 3 or 4 people, not like 10 to 15 people you can still call upon.
Like maybe like 1 or 2.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, and that's why I say we're unique, because we're spread across the country. We will always make the effort to go and meet and catch up.
Yeah. Because I think as well, like sometimes we can make this whole friends thing like really important, and then you wonder why your kids follow their friends.
Yeah.
Like, but I really learned and really reaffirmed it within myself that sometimes you just have to be grateful that there's just good people around
there,
and just take the little mini blessings that you come across like along the way, because like, and I guess maybe that's how like my new friendships have been like established and formed. Yeah, and so like 2020 when I had to have that operation, like I guess people would have assumed that all of my friends would have like rallied around me and stuff like that. But the people, and obviously the friend who I was telling you I'm still friends with from school, she did. And like obviously my brother that people know that I have, like, he did. But my support group was you, Darwin, Charlotte, and Roddy, who are all coaches from the athletics track because my son was running at the time. Now, I don't know if he wasn't involved in athletics, I don't know who would have been helping me during that point. Like, and it was all like, oh, if you need anything, like, let us know. And I kind of was like, again, and I'm funny about doing things like that. But yeah, and it was, but I think I found it easier because you guys are up front. So you were like, look, I'm here to talk to you, but I don't know if I can help with anything else. Roddy was probably pretty much the same. And I think Darren was, if you need anything, let me know. I'll see what I can do. And Charlotte was like, oh, if you need a lift to hospital, whatever, and she did that. She took me, like, so.
Well, I think that's a good advocate for coaches.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I think, and I think that's probably the nature of coaches as well. That we want to help. We're there to help, and if we see that someone wants help or requires help or needs help, then we'll always offer. We don't have to. We if it's people we like, for example.
Obviously, I was like, yeah.
I think in the nature of it's once again it's getting to know somebody.
Because is that not considered going above and beyond?
Why?
Because you're there to coach my child. Why is that network like?
Okay, that's fine. That's your child we're coaching. Fine, but we don't have to talk to you. We don't have to engage with you. You didn't have to engage with us, but we did. We talked.
Yeah.
Obviously, we like each other, which is why we continue talking.
Yeah.
So then, why would I not? Yeah, all right. Why would I?
Yeah.
Why would I then? I think it would be the same scenario for anybody that would consider someone they like or consider someone as their friend. Why would you not say, okay, you need something or you need help, then I can help in a capacity in the way that I can? Why would they not want to do that? But then again, this is my common sense thing and the way I've been brought up. But from a coaching aspect, we all coach to do certain things, but doesn't mean we have to do them. Doesn't mean we have to. Like I get it now. If someone says, "Oh, we've got 10 athletes that we need help with," I go, "You know what? I'd love to help all 10, but I can only help one."
Yeah.
Okay, fine, great. Or I can't help any. And that hurts when you say I can't help anybody, but send them my way. I'll help where I can.
Yeah.
Fine. But then I don't say that I'm friends with my athletes. That's because they're all different ages and they're all different stages. Yeah. That'd be a bit weird.
Yeah.
And I'm not friends with any of their parents, as an example. I'm there to do a job, even though it's volunteering and it's free, to help coach their kids learn something new. And for the names that you mentioned, and for me, we could have been exactly like that with you. We could have been. But as you say, it's once you get to know someone, once you start to understand them, once you start to, and if you want to talk about energies, once your energies sink and then cool.
Yeah. No, and the reason that when that came into mind is because I was thinking as well about a time when I was working in a primary school, and there was this one boy who needed to get driven home. His driver had changed, and he was not comfortable. So I then I didn't have to, but I did. I reorganised my own children. So that they could be sorted out who was going to take care of who and who was going to go to which club and all that business, and went with the boy for the journey home. And I was said, oh, that's when I was told, oh, you went above and beyond. But like, I don't feel like I went above and beyond. There was a child in need.
So then it could be brought down to, once again, our own experiences. Because you recognise that child is in need, you're like, do you know what? I felt this myself. So you could argue that all of us as coaches have felt that, I need some help from something, or I need someone to advise me or something. Or then we feel that, we recognise that and go, it's not above and beyond. Because I experienced that, then I'm more than happy to help. I wouldn't. It's not like tomorrow you could ring me up and say, oh, I need help with something. I'm not going to go, no, I can't do it. I'm not. I'll be like, what can I help? How can I help in capacity? Or I can do that, but I can't do that, or whatever. Because I know that I've been in that situation and I need that help as well. It's not that. This isn't a fake thing for your podcast. It is a genuine.
Yeah, I know that.
Right? Yeah. So, but then that's my point. Is you get to know people, and then you can start to. Once again, we were saying, you have acquaintances, you have friends, you have true friends, and then you have people and so forth. And I think, once again, you gravitate to who is probably most like you and you're comfortable with speaking to, etc. There may be that.
I don't know if everyone's comfortable talking to me. I often hear things that I'm like, how come that person's just said that to me?
Yeah, like, way too comfortable. Yeah. But I've got this thing here. I'm not going to say that to you. Yeah. Can you just check this out? Yeah. What? But I think, but then there's that I like to call it the chaos person that you may know that is completely different to everybody else that you know, but you just love and you enjoy being around them or speaking to them or whatever. And I've got a couple of people that are like that I love talking to because they're so out there and they're so zany. It's good not to be kind of on this level continuously with the same people all the time. It's good to have something that's different and changes. But I think to identify friends, you normally gravitate to who you want to be around with mostly. And then it has to be reciprocated.
And I think my struggle, so I'm just looking at the camera thinking, I know how I want to have this now. And I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. But anyway,
I think I've just figured it out as well. But yes, carry on.
Yeah. So now I've forgotten the last thing that you just said that I was going to respond to.
As in you gravitate to...
Yeah, so the trouble I have is I feel like I'm very adaptable.
Yeah.
So then it can be difficult to figure out where...
Interesting you say that, because I used to say I'm a bit of a social chameleon.
Yeah.
And by that, what I meant is I could almost blend in anywhere if needed to. I mean, there are some places I just cannot. I can't. Yeah. Like, but then it would normally gravitate to music. Once again, I'd be like, yeah, I can go and listen to indie over there. That's fine. Well, yeah, I can go and listen to rock over there. I can listen to R&B. I can listen to soul. I can listen to whatever. When it comes to like metal and stuff like that, I'm like, nah, I can't quite do that. D&B to a point, yeah, great. But I used to say I'm a social chameleon, so I'd happily go and speak to people with different, well, once again, as part of a coach, I guess, and part of being brought up in that way is you can go and talk to anybody that you feel comfortable you can go and talk to, or feel like you can go and approach. And then you blend in, you'll understand the language, you'll understand their emotions, and then you go, okay, yeah, cool, okay, got it. And I used to, and once again, adaptable. So then you'd have friends from, let's take it to music, you have friends from a soul perspective, you have friends from an indie perspective, you have friends that D&B or whatever. But then you will naturally, over time, they will gravitate, or you will gravitate to one of them or one particular group or whatever it may be. But whatever you're most comfortable with, you'll then consider them as friends. And even though you were adaptable before, you will still gravitate to those particular people you're comfortable around with all the time.
But I feel like all of my friends are different. I cannot imagine putting on something and having, because I don't have groups of friends, I have different individuals.
Okay.
And I cannot imagine all of those individuals coming together in one space. And not that they'd be beefing or fighting or nothing like that. I just feel like it would be a bit awkward.
I mean, the love awkward. The obvious thing is like if you had a birthday party or something, you invite everybody along. So I had that just after uni, which was the height of like everyone was going out because you're like early 20s. You may have just started a job, so you've got some expendable income, blah, blah, blah. And I invited all my uni mates and all my schoolmates together. And the interesting thing is that they all socialized because I guess I gravitated to people that are more like me, meant that they were probably easier to communicate with other people as well. So they kind of got on just fine. But then you could see over time, over the night, it would just gradually, those people were more comfortable with each other, those people more comfortable, and then they'd be there, and then it'd be me flicking between the two. So it's a similar that I can imagine them getting together for like an hour and being sociable, etc. But would they then come out of that and go, do you know what, I'm going to be mates with them for the next 10 years? Probably not.
Yeah.
But
so that's why I just don't bother. And so I find I go to spaces, I can have a good time and have a great conversation, or like make
a night of whatever is going on, we're gonna have to call it a day in a minute.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, I just accept that and just go back and just be by myself.
I think that the last point I'd say is that when it comes to schoolmates and uni mates, because you had such a good time with those particular people on a night out, at that time in my life, you go, well, I can just rinse and repeat that every weekend or every other night or wherever it may be. Uni was easy because it was basically every night. School was different because it was the weekend. But you rinse and repeat it. And then because you've enjoyed it, then you say, I want to do it again. And you keep those same people around, etc. And then that's how strong friendships grow, I think. I mean, there are certain people, once I've gone out with them a couple of times, I'm at home like, oh, are you coming out? No, I'm right. I'm good. Thank you. But now I'm much older. I'm like, do you know what? One night out means I'm ruined for the next week. So it's just not going to happen.
So, but then technically then, how do you consider me to be your friend? Because we don't chill.
That's mainly because of circumstance. So at the moment, circumstance is family, family, family for me. I mean, I hardly chill with my schoolmates. I hardly chill with in fact, I don't chill with my uni mates now because we're so spread. What I would consider regarding friends-wise is I can say anything to anybody that I'll consider a friend and then expect an honest answer back, quite frankly.
Okay.
And, and as I said, when in the group of my mates, I said recently, I was like, I said the question, does anyone feel the unnerving pressure of today's life? It's just everything is just go, go, go. And then there's like a flurry of messages back of honesty of like, yeah, I feel the same way, but I've thought about this to try and cope with it, or I've done this to cope with it, or come round and or let's meet up for a beer, or let's go to football, and there are the responses coming back, and you're like, okay, cool. People don't have to do that. And I'm sure that if I mean, not that I want to be depressing or anything, but if I sent a message similar to you, I'd expect you to say, I'd expect you to come back with words of wisdom, right? But honesty with it. So I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that, right? I wouldn't. What's the other thing they say is like normally you look through your phone book, and if there are people that are in there that were in there from 10 years ago or 20 years ago, they're probably your mates because you would have deleted their number by now, or they would have disappeared, or whatever.
Or you've got to keep numbers these days so you can keep them blocked. Otherwise, you start being able to call you.
I was gonna say because I don't remember numbers anymore, so I was like, oh, that person, yeah, great.
Oh, I saw a meme the other day that said, "Oh, I wonder what the part of my brain that used to remember phone numbers is doing now."
What does it do now? Like if you said to me, "What's your wife's telephone number?" I'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your brother's? I have no idea.
Yeah.
What's my rest of soul, what's my mum's home phone number? Oh yeah, I've got that because I used to have to repeat that all the time. Whereas now I'm just like select the missus as she's on my phone, select bro, select whatever. I don't know what that part of my brain is dead.
Do you have a phone book as backup though?
No.
What?
Do you know what's scary? And I'm sure people are aware of this, but all your phone numbers and your contacts are stored by the phone companies anyway. Not phone companies, but
yeah, but they don't help you in an emergency, does it? You can't ring up your phone network provider and be like, "Oh, I've lost my such and such."
So what Google does, I think, what Google does is whatever you sign into Google as, whether it's Outlook, Hotmail, Yahoo, whatever, Google will store your contacts.
Yeah.
So I could just log in and I'd find my contacts.
But if your phone actually stopped working and you needed to use someone else's phone or a landline, like
landlines don't exist. Yeah.
Like,
what would I do?
Yeah.
I would struggle. But then I'd have some backup somewhere. I'd know there'd be a backup somewhere. Somehow. But don't start putting things out there that are going to happen to me now.
No. It's just it's just one of them things.
You put it out into the universe now. It's going to happen.
I'm just prepared for as many eventualities as I can possibly think of in my brain. Is I guess, but maybe that's a trauma thing as well.
Maybe there's. Do you know what? They don't do that on TV programs, do they? No, maybe. Yeah, TV programs back in our day, you just go and ring the operator. Can you put me through to this, please? Yeah, sure. Now you'd be like, well, I haven't got a mobile connection. Okay, my last rant of the day, and I shouldn't really rant about it because I'm all about applications and phones, etc. I tried to get an appointment at the doctor the other day.
We haven't got time for this conversation.
And I rang them up.
Yeah.
And I went, I want an appointment. I went, oh, you can't book it through us anymore. You have to book it through the app. I was like, yeah, but I'm talking to you. So can I not just put, no, we can't do it. All right, so I had to go away and I had to download the app and I had to do this, blah, blah, blah. Then I thought about it and I was like, well, what happens if you don't have, what happens if you just got a landline? What do you do?
So they're encouraging people to book through their new app services if you have that kind of internet access. If you have an email address on the screen, then they will obviously assume you have internet access. So therefore, you will not need to use the telephone service.
So
the plus side to that, though, is that you will not have receptionists assuming that they know whether or not you need to see the doctor.
Oh yeah, there's that as well, which annoyed me. Why do you want to know? But then you still have to put the details as to why you want an appointment. Okay, fine. But then if I mean, people are technology savvy now. But argument's sake, I'm a 75-year-old that sat there with my landline, a not smartphone, just a phone as well. But I don't have internet access or I don't have a computer. What the hell do I do? Because even if I ring them up and they go, well, you need to go on the app, and they go, I haven't got access to the app. Well, we can't take appointments without the app. What do you do? That's my rant over, because I was like, do you know what? These applications are getting on my nerves. I know it's all about moving things forward and making things easier, but maybe now as the generations go, we're all expected to understand it, but there's still a generation out there now that are kind of like, you know what? I have no idea what I'm doing with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, my rant over. That's why we have friends. I'll have to get in touch with a friend to do it for me. That's what it is. I'll have to just ring them up with my analog phone or whatever it is. Yeah, a non-smart phone.
Wow.
All good?
Yeah, I'm getting tired from being in pain.
Just breathe it out.
Yeah, so I'm gonna obviously say our goodbyes.
I think you're gonna have a nap. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
No, I'm not gonna stay out any longer. I'm gonna pack up.
Go home.
And go home. Yeah.
Let's sort it out then. Cool.
Yeah. You coming to my event?
When is it?
In May.
Which day?
I've got 3 days. 3 dates. The 7th, 14th, and 21st. It's called Would You Like a Cup of Tea?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check. Are they weekends?
No, it's a Tuesday evening from 7 till 9. You can book your ticket by the Biscuit Factory website.
What do I do on a Tuesday evening?
Oh yeah, coaching.
Because when you send things, I always look at it and go, oh, okay. And then I go, like for the example of that, I'd have gone, well, there's no, you know what I do.
Yeah.
You know what that.
Yeah.
But then it depends on what time we would finish. So
no, you won't make it, but you can follow it up on YouTube. It's fine.
Okay.
And on the radio show.
All right.
And share it to all your friends.
Yeah.
Seeing as you've got 2 major friendship groups.
Don't forget they're very spread across the country. And most of the uni lot are in London. So are they going to come across? Well, I can't even get them to come across for a night out. So then again, why would you come for a night out in Reading when you're in London?
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, no one goes out in London anymore, apparently. So, and everyone's moving out of London still.
With someone coming up picnic.
You say that, we've done that before. So.
Well, do it again.
Yeah.
Like,
picnic in the park.
Actually, they said. In fact, let's not get into
that. Until next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Breathe out. Right. Stop it.
To hear the full radio show, which entails me reflecting on the podcast,
sharing the answers to the social media question of the week, and playing music, go to www.myvoiceempower.com and scroll down to the radio section. To listen to the full show live, tune into www.unityliveradio.co.uk every Thursday at 9 p.m. UK time for the My Voice Empower show, where there is also a Your Voice Empower hour for guests who still want to be heard but not shown. They come and engage in conversation about either their business, project, event, or raise awareness about topics that are close to their hearts. Always remember to spread your wings, speak your truth, write it down, and let it go.